Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different from what I normally do, which is going off the top, off script, and just talking about something that I feel like talking about, and that is Persona 4 Revival. Now, this announcement should not come as a surprise to anybody who's in the loop. This has been leaked by multiple sources that it would be present at the Xbox showcase event, and lo and behold, it was there. I got all of my recording stuff ready to go because I knew I was going to be doing this. I did not expect for the reveal trailer to be, it's 48 seconds or no, 42 seconds. But in terms of actual content, it's probably more closer to 30 seconds, and most of that is not indicative of what the final game will be like. I mean, we didn't see any gameplay, we didn't see any character models aside from Yuna Arakami. And yeah, I'm just going to get into, I guess, what we could infer from this trailer. I'll obviously talk about what we see here, but I think the more interesting discussion is what this means for Persona as a series and where it's at in terms of development from Atlus. So let's just quickly go through the trailer. It starts with some establishing shots of Inaba. Now, I believe this first shot is the train coming in from the big city that Yuna Arakami comes from, going into Inaba. Looks fairly similar to this corresponding scene in Persona 4. And there's a few locations that are shown off from these TV screens here. The only ones you could really make out are the ones in the school. You have the classroom and then the roof, obviously. And then you have another shot of someone, a silhouette in the TV. I think I know who that is, but I will not say for spoiler reasons. We obviously have the shrine, and then you have a scene of Yuna Arakami walking out of the shrine into the main street, and I believe they chose this shot specifically to demonstrate that there is no loading in between different areas of Inaba. Now, the one thing I do want to highlight here is that this does seem like very, very early in development footage, and I think that for many reasons, the most significant of that being that not much was shown off aside from environments and, like I said, the one character model we have of Yuna Arakami. It seems as if they're holding their cards close to their chest. I would assume that if other parts of the game that they would like to show off were ready, they would do so. So that to me is the biggest indicator that this is just very early in development. Obviously these areas look nice, but if you pay a bit closer attention to just how the environment is, I think it's just not fully there yet. It kind of has that look that Persona 3 Reload had when it first got revealed, of just not optimized. Now, the one reason why I think that this is early footage in terms of just how unrealized it looks is because there's a noticeable quality drop off in the scenes where, say, Yuna Arakami is running around and then it cuts to the title reveal, and the title reveal, if you look closely, is in like ultra crisp 4K HD, and I downloaded this video like 10 minutes after it got posted. So I don't think it's like a YouTube rendering thing. I think it's just that early in development. And like I said, comparing it to Persona 3 Reload and when it was revealed, there was just a lot more for Persona 3 to show off at that point. You had, Makoto going into the stores. You had multiple areas, multiple character models, the battle system, Tartarus, the Velvet Room. There was actually a lot in Persona 3 Reload's reveal trailer. So this, by contrast, I'm not going to lie, is fairly underwhelming. But there is some just interesting things to take away from it, in my opinion. One thing to note is the lack of new music. If my ears don't deceive me, this is just straight pulled from Persona 4 Golden. Both songs that were used, Time to Make History specifically, sounds exactly like the one we have all heard thousands of times. It could be a remaster with like higher quality instruments, maybe a new recording for the vocals, but it does not sound like they're going to be making new compositions, at least not as of yet, by Katajo, one of the members of Atlus sound team who is responsible for making Persona 3 Reload sound. I wonder if that's because of the backlash that they got for particularly the new Mass Destruction. They probably just want to leave Time to Make History alone. I personally don't think the new Mass Destruction is that bad. I think the original sounds better, but the new verses and instruments introduced in the new Mass Destruction, I don't hate it. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, it is pretty interesting how the music seems to be similar, if not the exact same, to Golden and the original P4. Not to say that that's what I'm hoping for. I believe that the best course of action might be to leave every existing song alone, so they're not going to remix anything, but I do think that they will be putting in new songs, all original songs like Color Your Night, stuff like that. It will be interesting to see how they implement those, because unlike Persona 3, Persona 4 Golden already has like a nighttime theme. It already has a new battle theme. It already has all that stuff that usually comes with Persona remakes, re-releases, that Persona 3 did not have before Reload. So by contrast, Persona 4 might need to be a bit more creative on how it implements new content. Another thing that I'll go back to that indicates that this is very early in development is that they don't even show UI in this trailer, which is typically something that is a point of emphasis for Atlus to show off. They talk about UI in their company briefings and these like press statements that they give out to the public. In interviews, they always talk about how important UI is in terms of Atlus's identity and what people kind of look forward to in their games. They really put an emphasis on it. So to not see any UI whatsoever in this reveal trailer is pretty interesting. And yeah, I think this just indicates that we're far away. I do think, and this might sound crazy, honestly, it might sound crazy, but I do think that Persona 4 Remake and Persona 6 will be releasing around the same time. I just cannot see a situation where Persona 6 comes out after 2026. It just, unless something bad happened, because that game has been in development since 2019. If it doesn't come out in 2026, I don't think Atlus would have planned for it to be an 8-year development window. So that is definitely something to keep your eye on. And yeah, the one last thing I want to talk about is just what this game will be in comparison to Persona 3 Reload, because that will dominate the discussion when it comes to this. Obviously, I do feel like Persona 3 and 4 fans have a bit of a soft rivalry. Obviously, we're from the same franchise, from the same series of games. But the fact that the original Persona 3 and Persona 4 are so similar to each other, and now with Persona 3 Reload and Persona 4, oh my god, I forgot the name, Revival, are honestly, it's almost like intentionally trying to set it up that way where they're going to be compared to constantly. I do think that it's going to spark a lot of discussions about, you know, which one got more love poured into it and all that stuff. Obviously, anyone who knows me knows I'm a Persona 3 fan, but I definitely do not mind Persona 4. I think Persona 4 has the best soundtrack in Atlus history, aside from Digital Devil Saga. I definitely don't have a hate boner for Persona 4, so I do hope that this game does well. And the one thing that I think it needs to do to one-up itself over Persona 3 Reload would be introducing new story elements. I think that was the one thing that was really holding Persona 3 Reload back for a lot of people. I think there was a lot of revisionist history on Persona 3 Reload, people saying the game looks like shit. It doesn't. The game looks fine. Obviously, there are some creative choices in terms of how the game was done with lighting and coloring and all that stuff, character designs. But I think that if there were just a lot more worthwhile things for veterans to come back to, I think that the discussion around Persona 3 Reload nowadays would be a lot more positive. And I hope for Persona 4's sake that they do a bit more expansion. I think it's inevitable, this might be wishful thinking, but I really hope that the Golden content, like the winter semester equivalent of content added in Golden, is not DLC. Again, I think that is extremely wishful thinking. And like I said, if this is early in development, We can probably expect this to be released at the end of 2026. This does not strike me as a reveal trailer that tells me this will be released within a calendar year. So yeah, what do you guys think? Honestly, I'm just doing this to put out a video so the YouTube algorithm doesn't eat me alive. I have some bigger projects coming down the drain, but I did get a job a few months ago, and that has, taken some time out of my space to work on these things. But at the same time, there should be something coming out relatively soon, so stay tuned for that, and let me know what you think about Persona 4 Revival in the comments section below. See ya.